to it is this is our first QHD display, so this is going to be a 2560 high resolution panel. So some of the cool aspects about this, outside of it just being high resolution, is that it does have picture-in-picture processing support. So the cool aspect about that is for maybe like a content professional, maybe you're in Photoshop, you're working on a single image still that's a render out of a video. So you could actually have the video present on the screen, but then you could also be looking at the still and processing, kind of so you don't have to visualize going back and forth or have to have maybe a more complex dual monitor setup. So that's cool. From a calibration standpoint, it's got 6-axis independent color adjustments. So we can go ahead and we can adjust the different levels of the RGB scale without affecting the other colors. So that's really important for that more professional series segment. But for the gamers as well, it gives you really clean, high-level fidelity. It's it's awesome. I mean, we got it set up to where we're showing people gaming at 2560. Of course, you got 2K content, HD content, photos. You can really spin it any which way. We're expecting this one to probably get out sometime towards right before the end of the first half. We're just right now finalizing on the firmware for it. With the firmware, the reason why, some people ask, well, why firmware for a monitor? It has to do with the processing calibration, because the units, all of them support Adobe's sRGB policies, so we have to do some validation kind of back and forth, and we have to make sure that that firmware is applicable for each port, that you can go ahead and add support for that. There's also switching policy issues that you can sometimes run into going from one input to another input, so we can try to tighten up the HDCP compliance that you can sometimes have when you're going from like HDMI to like a DVI source or things like that. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's the reason why we're just taking a little bit more time with that. We got it pretty tight and fast on the previous ProArt series, which this was the 23-inch version of it. In addition to that, we've actually got something here that'll tie into one of the units that we have out there. This is our new 450 megabits adapter. So we've actually had a lot of success with networking. Not a lot of people know, but one of the big aspects for ASUS, especially in North America, is actually our networking division. It makes up close to almost 20% of our gross revenue. So people think motherboard and VGA, but it's a very, very large part of our business model. So with that, our expanded assortment continues to be a focus. So this one's actually using a new type of what's called orthological antenna design. It's rated for 450 megabits. The cool part about it is that this one's CE based. So while we have it on a desktop, it's actually, if you see here, it's got power because that's due to the high power requirement for the actual antenna design, but it uses Ethernet, there's no USB. And the reason why is this one would be kind of ideal for this type of situation, maybe high performance desktop at outmost further ranges where maybe it's not easy to do cabling, maybe second floor, but also if you're connecting it to like newer generations of TVs, some of them you have to buy the more expensive like Wi-Fi dongles. You could also use this as an option, or also on consoles. For those type of units, of course, it's entirely plug and play. All the user has to do is just click the WPS button and it'll automatically synchronize with it. For the PC, there's no drivers, there's nothing to do with it. All you do is you just literally just go to my.ea66. It's all 100% web-based GUI. So you can go in there and you have access to, setting up in different modes. You can actually go and change it from maybe as an adapter mode. You could put it into a repeater mode if you wanted a repeat function. You could also turn it into an access point. So you have 3 different levels of functionality all built in within that unit. And the fact that you get that dual band support in the 450 megabits really makes it quite powerful in terms of changing it either into an access point or into a repeater. And we have, of course, all the options here. This one's using also our brand new GUI. It's really clean, it's really slick, it's really nice, and it aligns with what you're going to see on the N66 side. So moving over here, this one, I can't go into all the details because it's technically still under NDA, but it's going to be coming up very shortly. We have the Romley launch, which should be expected to be somewhere between about the 16th to the 31st of March. So getting ready right before we see Ivy Bridge. So where this platform is going to be focusing at is, a couple of different perspectives. You could be talking about content professionals, people who are doing HD video, 2K, 4K video, high resolution photography, simulation based, or you could just get the guys that want something badass and they want the high-end stuff, right? Because that's what you're talking about. So this is Sandy Bridge EP, so you're talking about 8 cores, an additional 8 for hyper-threading, so that's 16, another 16 here, that's a maximum of 32 cores, max 128 gigabytes worth of memory. This is the revised version of the PCH. I can't tell you exactly the maximum count as far as what the PCH supports, but on this board you have 14 SATA ports. So a lot of connectivity there. Just like our other WS models, we maintain the vertical USB. You got a huge amount of PCIe expansion. Like you can see actually here in our model we have set up, we went with 3 Tesla cards, CE2050, so we got some really high-end GPU compute performance here, and then with a standard GTX 560 for output. But one of the cool things that we have is we do have VGA off-render abilities, where we have an AS Speed VGA processing chip built on board, so that we don't actually have to utilize an actual discrete GPU to do the VGA hosting. And then in addition to that, we've got, of course, the server-grade Intel NICs on here for that high-end workstation environment. So it's pretty crazy rich board. Pricing point actually is not going to be too bad. We haven't finalized it, but the expectation is going to be, of course, positioned above our current line of Sandy Bridge E-based capable systems. So you're going to be looking at a little bit over about 500 MSRP. But when you take into consideration everything that's on the platform, it's pretty extensive in terms of what you have there. Yeah, definite beast, right? That's just, you know, it's just the beast, right? So pretty cool there.